vacuum? Is it one of those
Yeah, it's
handheld?
like a little. Yeah, dude, it's
dude,
really
I used
cool.
to love those things back in elementary
pretty
school,
awesome.
which is kind of the last time I interacted with that style of vacuum. But I feel like I did use one later, and it sucked. I don't know if it was not well. By the way, it did not suck well. Oh wait, hold on.
It's a vacuum problem right
This
there.
is how we celebrate. This is how we celebrate that terrible pun that I just did.
Yep.
So bad.
Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable Podcast. We are here today to talk about a very special topic, which is what it means to be an ally. If you haven't been on social media or if you've been living under a rock for a little while, it is Pride Month. It is June. And so we are going to talk about what it means to be an ally. We'll be discussing what it means to be an ally in the lens of LGBTQ, but also other communities as well, communities and people, because being an ally is not just, I don't mean to minimize the LGBTQ community, but being an ally goes out to many different people. So I think it's important to say that off the bat, but we're really excited today to talk about this episode. We've got a lot of good stuff planned for you today. So without further ado, I could not do this without my good buddy. What's going on, Jared?
Hello, my ally. We're like, never mind.
I was hoping you would give some cool movie reference or...
No, I was going to make an analogy. I was going to say like England and the United States were allies. But I decided not to. But because you brought it up, I had to
Sorry.
go back to it.
My bad.
No, it doesn't matter. Welcome to the pod, everyone. Please, if you're interested, Untranslatable Podcast on you know what, forget that. If you're interested, or just if you're not, 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher.
Пожалуйста.
Oh, hold on. David, could you speak up a little bit?
Пожалуйста.
There we
Thank
go.
you. Thank you. Would be greatly appreciated. And that's really all. Forget the social media. I don't want to cloud the main thing that I want, which is the 5-star reviews. That's what I really want. Yeah, Chad. Happy Pride Month. You always know it's Pride Month when you when you are scrolling through social media and the Bank of America ad, instead of just the normal logo, the logo has rainbows intertwined throughout it.
Yep.
And it's like, oh right, it's Pride Month. Thanks for letting me know, Bank of America. You've done your part. Anyway, there's been a lot of commotion on social media these days regarding Pride Month, specifically the Pride Parade. Have you heard about this?
I have not actually.
I know. You haven't heard of anything. But I ask only because we do a podcast. I was trying to make it seem natural, but I knew the answer. So there's been this debate about whether the Pride Parade should be should be family friendly, or whether it should be kink friendly. So essentially, the debate whether this is a place for people to express themselves, a place where they can be free and not concern themselves with the glaring eye of whoever that is. But then there's another camp that says this sort of expression and quote unquote kink is not okay. This should be a family friendly event. This is for like exposure to the cause. And how can I comfortably bring my kids if there's someone out here in assless chaps, doing cartwheels?
That's just Jared on a typical Tuesday.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, well, you should be able to do that any time of the day.
That's right. I got an easy solution for this, Jared.
What's that?
Easy solution. You do a family-friendly one earlier in the day or early afternoon. You do the kink-friendly one in the evening. Problem solved. Boom.
I don't think that solves the problem. First of all, the best parts of parades are during the day, and so now just to have fun, we have to save it for night because of some kids. Also, who do you think plans these things?
That's
how are
true.
you gonna? Because what
That's
they're
true.
all Pride Parade is like floats and people going around cheering. You can't stop. Like, what they're talking about is what people are wearing, not the time of day. So you can't just say, all right, if you're going to be wearing something sexy, and exposing, come after 6 o'clock. But if you're going to be wearing khakis and a ugly looking polo shirt, you guys come before 6 o'clock, from 10 to 6, and then you can wear your frumpy, ugly shit. But if you want to look good and really express yourself, you guys come after 6 p.m. when it's starting to get chilly out, when the lights are going, when it's getting dark, so you can't see anything. I think that kind of defeats the
maybe
purpose.
it's not as easy of a
you were
solution
so
as I
confident
thought.
too. You're like, there. Why is it
I
real?
was.
All this commotion on social media, and I solved it in 3 seconds. I don't know what
Right.
everyone's talking about. The argument from some that are fighting back against this family-friendly thing is that that goes against. First of all, that, by the way, you brought up recently that you learned the term respectability respectability politics. That's exactly what this is, where it's like, you should be representing yourself this way because this is what we're dictating what this event is supposed to be. So this is how you should be comporting yourself, properly, quote unquote, in society. And so people are fighting back on that because it's like, well, that is defeating the purpose of this whole thing in general, because the Pride began in the 60s as a protest to the Stonewall,
Stonewall Inn.
as a commemoration to what?
Stonewall Inn. Yeah, that's the riots. Stonewall
I
riots.
gotcha. Yeah. To the Stonewall riots, and which was a protest to raids done by police and various government organizations on gay hotspots, like hangout areas, whether it be bars or clubs or bathhouses, and they were raiding them, and just not good things were happening, arresting people and violating people for no reason, essentially. And so it's like, well, then what are we even doing this for? If we're just turning this into, some sort of, just family-friendly hangout. And that's actually kind of why I joked about the Bank of America thing too, because it really is also turning into a real corporate, a moment for corporations to jump. And it's like, okay, we'll change our logos. We'll put out a post at the beginning of the month, in the middle of the
Right.
month, and at the end of the month, and then we won't talk about the gay community or LGBTQ community in any sense until next June. I actually went to Meijer this morning to pick up some things, and right in front, at the very front, honestly, seemed out of place. Weird, like they were forcing it way too hard. There is just a line of like 4 or 5 different selections of Pride-related shirts.
There you go.
And I looked at that. I'm like, that's just sad. Like, you guys have no shame, and it was just the most pathetic. It was almost like when I was in Philadelphia, I went to the Pride Parade once or twice, and there are sometimes you'll find what do you call it? Like when someone's what's the word, Chad, for when someone's like going after an opportunity? Like they're very not opportune. All right, you got no help. Okay, someone, some of the very like
Ambitious?
entrepreneurial. That's a good one. That works. Some of the very but I'm going to use my own word. Some of the very entrepreneurial people there would be selling just sort of
The hustlers, bro.
various levels
Hustling.
of various sort of Pride related shirts. You see it in DC too, like with people selling, especially when
Is it
I don't
like
know
a
what it's
little
been like now,
stand,
but
kind of?
no, you'll just see people walking around like with shirts draped all over them, or with
Okay,
like
no.
a backpack, like Pride shirts, and they'll have like some wacky sayings on them, if you can, whatever, stupid sayings. I can't even think of them anymore. It's been a while since I've been. But that is essentially what it felt like at Meijer, a major corporation, to just see like these 6 shirts lined up on these little racks in front, and then no mention to the fact that it's Pride Month anywhere else in this gigantic superstore of a building. And it's like, this is so pathetic. It is so pathetic. And also another thing related to the Pride parades, by the way. Speaking of sort of this these sort of pathetic attempts. You also see it with the police. That's also a real eye roll one that I see it with. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like you've never seen this before?
What, like, are cops like tweeting out?
I feel like I'm
stuff?
sometimes I feel like I'm just talking to
You're
a
talking
wall.
to a wall. What do
No,
what do like police?
They do tweet out stuff. That's annoying too. But what I was talking about, I knew you wouldn't see the tweeting stuff.
Like what do they
You've never
do,
seen
though?
like the cars be they'll have like a livery is what they call it in racing, but they'll have like some sort of wrap, or they'll have the flag integrated
Bro,
into like
have
the
you
police.
forgotten where I live? Do you think
Yeah, they
the
probably
police
don't do that in
cars
Dexter. But I bet you they
wrap
do
their-
it.
yeah.
I guarantee you, I've
In
seen
Ann
it in
Arbor,
Ann
probably?
Arbor.
Probably,
But
you're
yeah,
right.
they definitely are not doing that in Dexter. That's true. They're not recognizing Pride Month at all in Dexter. I'm sure, but they do. I've seen it in big cities like Philly or any big city. I'd say Philadelphia because that's where I lived. But
Right.
well, they'll
Well,
have
that
like
makes
some
sense.
select police cars where they'll have like within the police logo, it'll have these pride, the pride colors, or like police cars have flags on them, and they'll have like the pride colors in the flag.
Right.
And it's like, this is disgusting. And it's like the whole point of the riots were because people were were rioting your establishment, the police,
Yeah.
being invasive. And so last month, Heritage of Pride, which is an organization in New York, they organize celebrations and whatnot. They announced that it would ban the NYPD from marching because of concerns from activists about police
Oh.
presence and how police have treated Black, Latino, and transgender communities.
Oh, for sure.
I remember at the last Pride Parade I went to in Philadelphia, like 2 or 3 years ago. Oh, well, not 2 years. I've been here for 2 years, so 3 years ago, I guess. The police, had a little section where they were walking through and waving and showing their support with their with their pride liveried police cars, and they were met with various reactions. There were some legitimate boos. And I get it. I mean, certainly wasn't cheering for him, but I wasn't gonna boo him either because for some reason I'm like, all these people here and they're gonna notice me booing him. And
I'm surprised, Jared. I'm surprised you weren't like, yay.
You're definitely not booing them in public. That's for sure.
Right.
I don't want to draw any attention.
Start
to
making
myself.
some oink sounds. Do you smell bacon?
I'm
that
sure
bacon?
someone. I'm
Where's
sure.
that
You know
bacon?
what? I'm sure. I don't remember exactly what was said or yelled, but that was probably muttered at some point. But yeah, so it was a little weird. So in this episode where we talk about allyship, there's been a whole lot of conversation, and it's I just found it very apropos. And you had no idea. I mean, you knew it was Pride Month, but you had no idea about all this conversation. But there's been all these social media conversation. Mostly I see the jokes. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really
Right.
follow that many people that take things that seriously often, but there have been some great jokes from people about how people are ruining pride and stuff, and
Oh,
like,
for
well, what
sure.
if my
Well-
kink is people ruining celebrations and stuff like that? Oh, geez.
That's true. You got to be an ally, I guess, in all sorts, Jared. But I will say that for sure you notice it in the West, obviously, way more than you would in the East. Even like it's so funny. I saw this image of auto companies in the U.S., like their Instagram pages, and then there's in like Russia, the Middle East, all the ones that were in the like Mercedes, BMW. Which other ones were there? There were a bunch of
Audi.
them. There were like 6 or 7. Yeah, and they all changed their logos to have some rainbow-esque logo
Yeah,
on their
everyone does
avatar.
it.
But then in the Middle East and Russia, obviously they didn't.
Yeah,
Because-
I don't think Pride Month in general is a thing there.
It's not.
But
Pride
is-
Month is a very westernized thing.
Is it a global thing?
Is
Or,
it?
I mean, global
I don't
thing
know,
in-
actually.
I thought it was. I always assumed it was an American thing. I mean, it definitely is an American thing. We talked about how it was.
Right, the Stonewall riots
Right,
and
right,
everything
right.
like that. Right.
I'm sure it's spread to other
well, there are certain
countries
countries
that are more
I think
accepting of.
were right, exactly. But still, the interesting thing though, Jared, is that a lot of stuff that happens in the LGBTQ community especially things like coming out. That is a very westernized idea, actually. Like I've heard, like I have a friend from China who's gay, and his parents just don't know. I don't know how they don't know, but they just don't know.
I mean, that happens in the in Western places all the time too.
That's true.
I mean, I think that's more depend. I mean, I'm sure it might
where
be
you live.
more popular or more not popular, more common
Yeah.
in certain parts of the world. But I don't. You make it seem like people are just like coming out in the U.S. or in various Western countries is just a walk in the park for everyone.
No.
And how
No,
it's
I'm
like
not trying to
just
say it's a walk in the
celebration
park.
for everyone.
No, it's not. But that is kind of the point of Pride, is to honor and celebrate these people.
Yeah,
you know?
and to remove the stigmas and stereotypes.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the stigmas and stereotypes, that's sort of an oxymoron, right? You don't really have to say because it's either a stigma or a stigma can be a stereotype.
But a stereotype can't
all
be a stigma.
stereotypes. All stigmas are stereotypes, but not all stereotypes are stigmas. I think
Yeah.
maybe it would be
Yeah.
how that would go.
Yeah.
I think
I think you're
stigma
right.
is like a subset of stereotypes. So yeah, it's still they're trying to lower some of those stigmas and not make it so trying to make it easier to come out and be easier for people to live their life, which is why
Right.
there's been all this debate about how you going to tell us how we should celebrate Pride. So you're comfortable when that
Right.
is literally the complete opposite of how this even formed, where it's like people were trying to be comfortable in their own spaces and people were coming in and ruining that. So there was a demonstration and backlash to that. And now it's like,
Right.
well, but this should be for the families,
Which I see where that argument kind of comes from, but at the same time, I don't know, if I had kids right now, Jared, I mean, I probably wouldn't be taking them to a pride parade until they were older. At least until they were old enough where, like, we've probably had a conversation about, like, the birds and the bees and all that. You know what I mean? Because, like, because I think it's one
would
thing.
you take them to a Pride parade at all?
I mean, yeah. If we were going, I mean, sure, why not?
You would take them if you were going. Yeah, but you're the parent. You're in charge of that. That's what I'm saying. You're talking about a scenario that would probably never happen because you have. So that's why I was just like But you have to. So you have to explain, like what it means to have kids and bang and sex before you could take someone to a Pride parade. That seems a little ridiculous to me. I think personally. But listen, we parent differently. We're different parents.
What I mean here is, Jared, that if I had really, really young kids, like, well, I guess I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. I guess
I don't think
haven't
you have
been
to explain to kids where babies come from before you expose them to like the idea of LGBTQ people.
Let me put it. Well, no, let me put it this way. What I mean is, if I go to we were talking about the whole kink, if you go to a gay pride parade that has like the kinky stuff going on, I would
What
much
do
rather.
you think is happening when they say that?
Well, I don't really know. That's
They're
the
not
thing.
like banging in the streets.
Well, obviously, I don't think they're doing that. But like,
they're the
I don't know,
sounding sessions. We have a sounding booth here. Here's the anal booth where you can just go up and pick your dildo and we'll just give you anal in the streets. I don't think that's what they mean. I think it's more like clothing choices and stuff like that.
right.
I don't think there's actual sexual activity happening at most of these activities.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that either.
Okay.
But yeah, I just don't know if it's. I don't know. I guess it's been a few years since I've been to a pride parade. The last pride parade I went to, it was actually. I mean, for the most part, I don't think it would be bad if you had a kid there. I guess there wasn't anything super crazy going on.
Right.
But once again, when these people say the kink stuff, if we're talking, I guess it just depends that level. You know what I mean? Like what kind of craziness is going on, I guess.
Yeah. I guess I'm confused because I don't know what sort of concentrated level of sexual activity one might think they might come across. I feel like from I like the worst thing you might worst quote unquote if you're a parent concerned about your kid, which you seem to be very concerned about your hypothetical child. I think the only thing I could think of would be like you might, I don't know, maybe you'll come across a loose nipple somewhere or something, or like a revealing piece of clothing, but not something that's not. No one's going to be but I don't know what sort of concentrated level of sexual activity you're concerned about, or one would be concerned about. Like just where it's just constant, where it's like you can't, like this unavoidable level of something where it would be so horrid. Or just don't bring your kids.
Right.
People like you that are so concerned about these aggressive levels of kink weren't going to be bringing your fake kids anyway. And I say that literally because on social media, that's primarily what it is. People complaining about these fake kids that they probably don't even have. Think about the kids. It's like you don't even have kids. You're just some
Right.
Doge avatar on Twitter. What do you know? So I think you, like many people, have a sort of a false concern, and I don't mean that by any insult. I just feel like that the concerns are unwarranted, and if you're so concerned, just don't go. I don't know. It's not that big of a deal.
That's fair.
No one wants your boring ass there anyway if you're so concerned. I noticed you even went with the rainbow tie-dye shirt. That's a nice touch. I went with the all black like I'm some sort of conscientious objector or something.
There you go. I went
Hey,
full
it's
on.
Black
And
History Month every month around here.
That's right.
Can we spread a little love?
Of course.
I have another I would say moment of allyship here for you, Chad.
Great.
And this goes out to the shout out. Spread a little love. I'm excited. You know what? I tried new things. Really, there's no substitute for the. You know what? By the way, shout out
There we go.
to the original setup. So I'm going to give a shout out to Valedictorian. Have you heard about this? This is
yeah.
school
Yep.
related. See,
Yep,
okay,
I
I can
have
get
heard
you with
about this.
education related things.
Yep, you can.
Do you like follow specific education related
Yeah.
publications? So that's how you find out about these things.
Mm-hmm.
Lake Highlands High School valedictorian pulls this old switcheroo on her
bait and
commencement
switch.
speech. Shout out spread a little love to Paxton Smith, who got one speech approved and then surprise read another one about abortion
Surprise.
rights. You know the drill. Every valedictorian has to get their speech approved before they deliver it at commencement. You can't let high school kids, even really smart, hardworking, responsible kids, just get up and say whatever they want to say. Well, you can. I mean, what do you mean you can't?
well, yeah.
You don't want to.
Clearly it happened. Right.
You definitely can.
Right. And here's an example.
And to be fair to children, they make it seem like it's just going to go bad 95% of the time if you do. These are
Right.
valedictorians. So most of these people, you'd imagine, have some level of concern about their future, you know? So
Right.
it's like, we're not just all going to go up there like middle fingers ablaze and like,
Right.
F you.
Right.
So I kind of
The thing
disagree
I
with
wish
that.
I wouldn't have done in high school gave a crap.
I think they need to give high school kids a little more credit. But yeah, that is true.
Oh, for
that
sure.
You do have to get them all approved or whatever.
Right.
So they said if you did just let them do whatever they want, that would lead to chaos in writing. That's the next sentence. I was like, oh, that's a little aggressive. So Paxton Smith, the valedictorian of Lake Highlands High School class of 2021, with her 104.93 average. What does that even mean? Honestly, the way GPAs are working, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a GPA and I don't even understand anymore. Because sometimes you hear someone be like, oh, yeah, I got a 5.1 GPA. I was like, I didn't even know that was possible. I thought the max was 4.
Yeah, that weirds me out as well, Jared. I don't really get that either.
like,
how
well,
you can get above a 4
took 6
point.
AP classes, and I did take 1 college credit, so that counts more. I'm like, all right.
Right.
You need to making stuff
But here's
up
the
now.
thing, Jared. I took AP classes in high school, passed a couple of the AP tests. I didn't leave high school with an above 4.0
Yeah.
GPA.
Listen, I
What
really
is
don't know
this,
how
Jared?
it works. I really don't know how it works.
Right?
I guess 104.93 is essentially saying like on a test with extra credit. Essentially,
Right.
She gets everything with all the extra credit except for like
Ballin'.
one question that she missed one time that she still angry over.
Yeah, makes her turn in her sleep at night.
Wake
for
up
sure.
at night, she's like, the capital of I don't even know what they're learning in high school anymore. I was gonna say and I almost got it wrong. I was gonna say the capital of Washington,
Mitochondria
Seattle.
is the powerhouse of the cell.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Anyway, let me keep reading this. She submitted her speech ahead of Sunday's commencement ceremony at the high school state. Oh Jesus, someone mowing the lawn outside. Can you hear that?
Nope.
Oh, you can't? All right, we'll see if it comes through. I'll adjust. I'm in a new location. Still learning the barriers here. It was about her original speech. It was about media and how much of it she consumes and how the consumption has shaped the way she sees the world, which makes sense. Social media is changing things. But another matter kept nagging at her. She couldn't stop thinking about the heartbeat bill Governor Greg Abbott, which I believe that's Texas. This is Texas
yeah.
related. Yeah,
Yep.
has
Texas.
By the way, I listened to a podcast. This is not me. So Greg Abbott, he's a Republican or whatever. He's in a wheelchair. I listened to a podcast, and one of the guys calls him Governor Crazy Legs. And every time he says it, I like.
Oh no!
And I essentially have that response that you just had.
Oh god! Reminds me of Forrest Gump when
I know. I never saw that movie fully.
You've never
I've
seen-
seen like
oh
bits,
my
I've
God.
seen like pieces of it, and probably on like TV where they take out
Okay.
parts in commercial, but I never really saw it fully.
Okay, that's crazy though.
But
Oh my God.
Governor Crazy Legs signed into last month the heartbeat bill. The law prohibits abortions as early as 6 weeks before many women know they are pregnant, and it matters not if the pregnancy results from incest or rape. Abortion rights activists say it is the most restrictive law in the country. It will go into effect in September. The more Smith thought about it, the more she was drawn. To the conclusion that there was nothing more important that she could address with her time at the microphone. Smith talked to her three parents about her decision. It threw me off for a second, but yeah, I imagine it's divorce or something like that. I don't know. I was like, two of them read her new speech and approved. The third wasn't thrilled, but agreed to keep quiet. And the other one's like, yeah, that's why we're not together anymore.
right.
She support our child. Jerry. She's an outgoing person by nature, but knowing what sort of reaction her remarks might spark filled Smith with trepidation leading up to Sunday. Of course, that was me. I said that. That wasn't in the article. She practiced the speech again and again to the point that she didn't need to think about the words. On Sunday, as she climbed the stairs to the stage, her mind went blank. At the lectern with a shaky voice, she began by thanking one of her coaches, and she pulled from her bra a single piece of paper folded in quarters and told people what was on her mind. Now, I have the speech here. I can play a little bit of it for you. We don't have to listen to the whole thing, but let's hear it from her from her mouth, from her bra.
You had to go there, Jared.
They said it.
They said that.
I just read it. She pulled a paper out of her bra that had the. All right.
Yeah. No.
Oh, she's doing it. I see it. I'm watching. That's what I just read. She thanked her coach.
I can't hear anything.
You can't hear anything?
Nope.
Oh, chatty Chad. Of course you can't. My nothing's plugged in. I just realized. I'm I'm so used to the old setup that I didn't have to do anything before. Oh shoot.
No worries.
Damn it.
No worries. That's all right.
I can do it. I'm just not prepared.
That's
all right. You know what? This is. I've never been more mad at myself, and this is very angry. I can read to you what some of the speech said. I have the article.
Okay.
Here.
Sounds good.
So
It's all good, buddy. It's
See,
a good
just like she's still thinking about mitochondria. This is gonna keep me up at night. Why don't you get the splitter, idiot?
It's all good.
2 days after her speech, oh jeez. All right. She okay. As we
have the
here,
speech?
I have it. Here's the speech. Sorry, because I thought I had my setup right. I wasn't prepared to read it. I have it.
You're good.
As we leave high school, we need to make our voices heard. I was going to get up here and talk to you about TV and content and media because those are things that are very important to me. However, in light of recent events, it feels wrong to talk about anything but what is currently affecting me and millions of other women in this state. Recently, the heartbeat bill was passed in Texas. Starting in September, there will be a ban on abortions that takes place after 6 weeks of pregnancy, regardless of whether the pregnancy was a result of rape or incest. 6 weeks. Most women don't even realize they're pregnant by then. And so before they have the time to decide if they are emotionally, physically, and financially stable enough to carry out a full-term pregnancy, before they have the chance to decide if they can take on the responsibility of bringing another human into the world, the decision has been made for them by a stranger, a decision that will affect the rest of their lives. I have dreams, hopes, and ambitions. Every girl here does. We have spent our whole lives working towards our futures, and without our consent or input, our control over the futures has been stripped away from us. I am terrified that if my contraceptives fail, that if I'm raped, then my hopes and efforts and dreams for myself will no longer be relevant. I hope you can feel how gut-wrenching it is, how dehumanizing it is to have the autonomy over your own body taken from you. And I'm talking about this today on a day as important as this, on a day honoring the students' efforts in 12 years of schooling, on a day where we're all brought together, on a day where you will be the most inclined to hear a voice like mine, a woman's voice, to tell you that this is a problem that can't wait. I refuse to give up this platform to promote complacency and peace when there is a war on my body and war on my rights. A war on the rights of your sisters, a war on the rights of your mothers, a war on the rights of your daughters. We cannot stay silent. And if I could, I would drop the mic, but
I was just going to say, yeah, that is
I don't know,
that is quite a speech. I mean,
Yeah.
she certainly didn't mince her words.
No,
That's
she
for
didn't.
sure.
And
That- yeah.
I mean that takes a lot of bravery, obviously, at any age, but let
A
alone
lot of courage.
let alone as we were talking about, as they said at the beginning of this article, people are, we have to control the high chance that there's going to be some tomfoolery. I don't agree with that, but I do think it takes a lot of courage to get up there and say what you actually believe. Honestly,
for sure.
as someone that works in corporate America, I know how hard it is to speak up as an adult about things that actually matter in the world and I've seen that with things like Black Lives Matter, and this is actually the company I work at now is actually the first company I've ever worked at that even recognizes it. Granted, as we talked about with corporations, it's kind of hot these days to recognize
Right.
these things. I'll give them credit where credit's due, but I'm
Right.
cynical, I guess. But to be able to speak up about topics that are considered controversial like this, and give your view in a Republican state like that to probably a crowd, a lot of people that don't agree or agree with the bill and don't agree with what Paxton said, is impressive.
Yeah. Without a doubt. Where was she coming from again? From Texas, right?
Yes, this Lake Highlands High School in Texas.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there were plenty of people in the crowd that probably didn't agree with her view, but I think she's
That's
right.
Why you have that's why you have to take those stands. Those are in those scenarios where people don't agree with you. That's where it's the most powerful. That's a suburb. Dude. Oh, I think I have family.
been there?
Really? I think North Highland or something like that. I have family because it's a
Interesting.
suburb outside of Dallas, is what it is. And
Okay. Nice.
I have family that actually might live around there. Should
Okay.
hit up my cousin. Hey, you know this person?
Right.
He does.
That would be
He
crazy.
doesn't. It's almost definitely no. Do you want to spread a little love? By the way, spread a little love. I meant to say, do you want to spread a little love to Paxton? Do you want to give out some untranslatables? Share some untranslatables here.
Yes, I do, Jared. And I was hoping today, well, first of all, Usually, untranslatables are idioms, proverbs, sayings, axioms that don't always translate on a
they always
one-to-one
are.
basis. But for today, we are going to do some different type of untranslatables, Jared. I want to go over some terminology used in the LGBTQ community and see what you know and what I've looked these up, but there were quite a few of them I also didn't know.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm with you. Sorry. I'm so eager just because I'm concerned about our branding here. I would still consider that an untranslatable, though, in the sense where these are phrases and words that I imagine have some meaning in English that they're not being used towards. Like they do have some meaning, or other than the one that they're being used for here,
That's fair.
which is
Okay,
untranslatable.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay. Well, these are some English LGBTQ untranslatables,
Okay.
and I'll get you started today, Jared. With let's see here. Well, this is we talked about coming out being kind of more of a Western type of thing. The term out. How would you define that term, Jared?
Someone that is openly shared their sexual preferences, I guess, with the people that that I guess interact with them. And so usually that involves some sort of moment where you some sort of moment where a person will decide to tell their parents or coworkers or just various family members or friends that this is how I choose to identify, or this is who I'm attracted to,
Right.
and I'm letting you know and letting the world know, so there's no confusion, and
Exactly.
so that's what it
Exactly.
means to be out.
And then, what do you think DL could stand for, Jared?
That is another term for DL, which is another untranslatable, would be in the closet.
Okay.
And DL means down low, and that means that that's usually, and DL usually refers to, I guess DL and in my head, DL and in the closet are a little different. DL, when I hear that, I think of people that are actively like doing, like seeking out sexual activity, but are in the closet. So here's another one for you.
Okay.
You can be DL and in the closet.
Right.
But just because you're in the closet doesn't mean you're on the DL, would be how I would think about it. So you can be in the closet and not sharing with people whatever your sexual preference is, but that doesn't necessarily mean or that you're seeking out sexual experiences behind people's backs or anything. That maybe you like, I don't think those two things have to be related. But if you're on the DL, you're in the closet because nobody knows that you're, and in my mind, you're actively seeking out some sort of sexual. That's just what I think. Is that what they say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you know that? Did you not know that term? The way you asked it made it seem like you've never heard that one before.
Well, I've heard. Well, actually, no. DL I hadn't heard before. Obviously, in the closet, out of the closet, we've heard before.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah. Those are pretty. Those are more common. So this one I know you'll know, Jared, but I would love to hear your take on what this term means to you, at least. The term queer.
Yeah, I don't know, because it's in our that term has gone through a lot in our lifetime. Because
Right.
when we were kids, it was just a straight up ignorant insult.
Right.
Kind of like how
He's such a queer.
it was kind of like the only people from Boston used it though. Your favorite comedian
That was a
would love
terrible
that.
Boston accent, by the way.
Would love that. So it kind of like how the gay was just sort of a term for just an insult back in the day for stupid or whatever.
Right.
That's kind of this, but actually I take that back. Gay kind of meant stupid or dumb. Like
Right.
Hey, do you want to go like hang out? at church, and it's like, oh, that that's gay. I hate even saying it now. It sounds so antiquated.
Ooh, you're gonna get us canceled, Jared. Watch out.
Yeah, that was a weird, a weird
You're
example.
just canceled by the church and by the LGBTQ
It's a weird
community.
example. Hey, do you want to
Well,
go
we're-
hang out? No, I'm not even gonna make that joke.
Oh dear Lord.
That was a bad example, but I was just trying to think of a place that I would not find fun to hang out. But that was not a good example. So yeah, it was just a general. But queer was an insult specifically, I think, for like being gay. You know, where it's like, so whatever that person was doing that someone might
Right.
consider actual homosexual activity, whatever that is. Wearing a shirt they didn't like or whatever stupid
Right.
shit people used to
Or wearing high
still
heels
do
if
say,
you're
I
a
should
man.
say. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting though that you mentioned that, Jared. The term queer has definitely had
right.
quite a few different metamorphoses over time.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
And it seems, and what I've read online as well is that the LG, and I'm just going to say too, this episode, the reason why we're talking about what it means to be an ally is, I mean, both of us are straight dudes, so I don't think it's fair for us to speak on the behalf of the LGBTQ community. But I think it's great to talk about it, to bring awareness and just to get it out there.
Sure. It's been you're right though. You are right. It's been reclaimed, it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
It's all I really need to stop making comparisons, but I think I have another good one for you.
I think I know what it is, but go ahead, Jared.
It's kind of like the N-word, you know?
Yep, I was hoping you were going to say it, so I wouldn't have to say it.
We could say it, and we can use it, but it doesn't sound right coming from the straight's mouth. Is this
Right.
Like I just don't use that term really.
Right.
And I understand that it's and not even just like I don't, and what I mean, obviously I don't use it in the ways that it was used when we were kids, but I mean like I don't even really use it like in a allyship way, just because I still don't fully understand how to use it, and
How to
and
use
it
it
doesn't,
properly, that's fair.
and because it
I
does
don't think
also
I do either, to be honest.
it does also explain, like, it is also, well, what's the Q on LG? Is it questioning or queer? Because
think
I
it's,
believe it's also a Q in the LGBTQ.
That's a very good question.
I've seen it go. I've seen it go.
I've seen it go both ways, I think.
and so I don't fully.
Lesbian, gay, bi, trans.
See, now you're not
is
listening.
it
because
lesbian, gay, bi, trans, queer? Is that what it is?
That's what I was just saying. I don't know if it's queer or
Yeah, I'm
questioning.
not sure either.
I know what all the other ones mean.
Right. Well, either way, I mean, I think both terms, queer, well, maybe,
But I'll
maybe
say
it is
this:
different.
I do. I do enjoy watching a reclamation happen. It feels good.
Oh, for sure.
It is enjoyable to see a group that was subjugated by a word be and use it proudly. That's always fun.
And use it as their own, for sure.
Yeah. All right,
I really
give me
like
another
that.
one.
Okay, passing.
Passing is used, I believe, mostly in the the trans community, and it refers to when a trans person, whether male or female, is in public, if just the general public is generally believe or recognizing that person as the gender that they choose to identify as, and so it's like, are you walking around down the street as a trans woman, and if people are constantly saying like sir or whatever, then you're not passing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it basically means you kind of fit society's mold for what that gender, quote unquote, should look like, right? Yeah, exactly.
That was a lot more succinct and clearer way to. That was the dictionary definition of how to say it. I rambled.
Hey, it's always good to have a little bit of both, you know? All right, I always say this wrong, Jared, so please tell me how to say this right. Is it cisgendered or cisgendered?
I believe it's cisgender.
Okay. And what is cisgender, Jared?
Cisgender is a person that identifies as the sex that they were born as. So their gender fits the sex they were born as, is what it is.
Right.
And
Right.
can I'll give a clarification.
Sure.
The difference between gender and sex, because I think that's
go
kind of
for it.
useful. I believe this is what it is. Do you know the answer? Because I'm going off of
Well,
what
I
I
want to
believe
hear your
in my
answer,
head.
and we'll
I
see.
believe sex is what you're physically born with, the part. So
Your
sex,
biological sex. Yeah.
sex literally just tells you what the part is that you came out
Yep.
of your out of the womb with. Gender, it is who you choose to identify. Is who you choose to identify as, whether that be male, female, non-binary, and so cis would be you were born a man
and you identify as
you
a man.
identify a man. No, excuse me. You should say but no, that's wrong. You were born a male and you identify as a man.
Identify as a man. Gotcha. Born a female, identify yourself as a woman.
Yes.
Whereas if you're non-cisgendered, then would be if you were born a male and then
No, I
but
think that's
identify
transgender.
as a woman.
think
Yeah, duh. Okay, duh. Okay, I'm getting too complicated here with these terms, Jared. But there are a lot of terms too. But I think it's important to know some of these terms because
Sure.
once again, brings some more awareness.
And it's also important because it really bothers me the people that are like, oh, that's the new term now, so I guess we're going by that now. Where it's like
Right.
it's not. Where it's like, oh no, I still use like you get it a lot with like retard. People
Right.
hold on to that one for
Right.
some reason. I heard someone.
And why do you? Yeah,
I can't.
Why do
I
people
can't
even
explain
have
the
to say that?
situation, but
Right.
I heard someone say it casually, just multiple times a couple weeks ago, and like I was just like a sort of a fly on the wall in the situation, and I was like, I didn't realize people still said it, and it was like no sort of real people this person wasn't with strangers in mixed company, just
Right.
throwing it out there. I was like, that is bold.
That's not a good look.
Yeah, to me, that's just like it. Kind of almost feels like a maybe not this bad,
bit
but it's
abrasive.
kind of like a white person just in mixed company that's throwing out the N word or something. Where it's,
Yeah.
not that bad because obviously
not
the N
as
word has a
strong,
lot more of
but
a history
still.
to it. But that's sort of the vibe that word has these days when you just use it in front of strangers. So
Right.
that kind of blew my mind. But anyway, yeah, that's I don't even remember what I was talking about. So anyway. Do you have any more terms you'd like to?
Oh yeah, I got some other ones.
All right.
FAAB,
I have no idea what that is.
and I'll give you another clue. The other one is MAAB
I have no idea what that is.
or AFAB, AMAB. Assigned.
Oh, assigned male at birth, assigned female at birth. What were the?
Yeah, and the other one would just be male assigned at birth,
oh,
female
it's just a different way
assigned
to
at
say
birth.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I think about it, I think I have seen that before, but I had no idea what it meant.
Now, what was crazy, Jared, is I never really knew about this until college. I hate to admit, but I took a gender studies class at Albion because it was one of the
Those
requirements to
liberal
graduate
colleges.
Yep, and so I had to take a gender studies
ruining
class.
the next generation. I took
Well,
an
I
ethics
learned,
studies class, also ruined by our liberal
Oh,
college.
totally ruined. We're liberal hippie shills, Jared. We're sheeple, Jared. I got my rainbow flag backgrounds. I'm surprised we haven't changed our logo yet on Instagram to be
Liberal
the rainbow
propaganda.
flag. Right. But anyways, so I had a student at Albion in one of my classes who was actually
Classmate, you were
a classmate
You weren't
who
the
was
teacher.
who I guess they had to assign him a gender at birth because he was technically hermaphrodite, I guess, or something.
Oh, okay. That doesn't happen very often.
No, it's very rare, but it does sometimes happen.
Wow.
But that was really interesting because the doctors had to make kind of a decision, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Did
your
they
life.
explain? Did they explain how the decision is made? Because I imagine it's not just purely a parent being like, all right, well, which one would you prefer? I imagine there's some sort of medical
I think
reason
so.
for you to lean one
Right.
way versus the other.
I don't remember if they did say how they made that decision. To be honest with
So
you,
why'd you bring this person up?
Well, because I just wasn't aware of the whole being assigned something at birth.
Oh,
at
right.
first. Because we were talking about those phrases.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I mean, in college was the first time when I understood and I don't think this was from a class. I think this might have been from people. Is the first time I understood the concept of sex versus gender, and sort of
Right.
the idea even just the terminology of like identifying as one gender versus the other, and that gender. I think as a kid, I just grew up kind of assuming gender and sex were almost like interchangeable.
Right.
It's like, oh, that's just a different word for the same thing. And I think college was the first time that I learned, around all these libs that no, there's a
Right.
difference, and you can
Right.
and there's that decision that is made, and then also not decision, but like people, that's not the right term, but now I learned another term, assigned.
Speaking of sex and gender, Jared, could you help me define the term gender queer?
No, I don't really understand that. Is that like? Oh, I think I do. Can I take a guess? Because this is the untranslatable. So is that like your? Oh well, no, that's gender fluid. Are those the same
you're
thing?
Getting warm.
Are those the
they
same
aren't
thing?
the same thing. No, they aren't the same
Okay,
thing.
well I know gender fluid is people identifying as different genders, and not being confined to one gender. But I don't know what gender queer is in
So
comparison to that.
I think they're very similar, but I don't think they're exactly the same. So gender queer simply means, I think that's more of an umbrella term for people who don't conform to society's or hetero or I guess it would just be societal gender norms, like gender queer.
So it's less that they so gender fluid is more like I'm going by he, she today, or he, him today. Tomorrow, or I'm going by she, her. But then gender fluid would be more like, listen, I'm not with any of these things. Like, you can't really pinpoint me to
Right,
any
you're
of these
non-binary.
genders specifically. No, I think that's a different identification. I think that's
Well,
the
right,
they,
you
them.
don't identify with either gender,
But
right?
yeah,
Right?
yeah. Yes, I believe so.
I think, yeah, I'm, yeah. But I will say though, Jared, I do want to give respect to my source for today. I got a lot of these terms actually from, believe it or not, coming out of Florida, Jared, from University of Florida, Division of Student Affairs and Multicultural and Diversity Affairs. They have a really good list of all of these terms, very clearly defined. So check that out, people, if you want to learn more about these terms.
I'm going to make a proposal to you, and once again,
Sure.
I'm the editor. So if you don't want to do this, we can cut all this out. No one will even know I said this.
Just not at all. Uh-huh.
We're approaching the hour mark here. We've had a lot of great conversation about Pride Month.
Yep.
I'd say we can call it a day and make this an episode about Pride Month and actually have a legitimate discussion about allyship on either the next episode or the episode after, since we've already decided on an episode for the next.
Let's do that.
Because I think this was a good conversation about Pride Month.
Let's do that.
Between
That's
the
fine
beginning
by
of the
me,
show
buddy.
and talking about the terms, I learned something. Yeah, although if you haven't, those were all the terms you had. It seemed like you were coming to the end of the terms.
I mean, I have more terms. Should we?
yeah,
You want me
let's
to
do a little
some
bit more
terms?
since we're not going to get into the main topic.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all right. This is going with the flow here, Jared.
Yeah, but this is a great episode about Pride Month so far. So why
Right.
force a new topic in an hour into the episode? It seems
That's true. I got
like a
plenty more
terrible
terms
idea.
then.
All right.
Here's another term. And I guess I wonder if this term. So I think this would be the term we would use when I was talking about the classmate of mine would be intersex. So
okay.
intersex would be the term to describe a person whose sex assigned at birth does not, neatly fit into the socially accepted binary of male or female because they have genitalia, hormone production levels, and or chromosomal makeups that are ambiguous or non-binary. So that is the thing that does irk me sometimes when some conservative talking heads try to say, there's a boy and there's a girl. And I
Right.
don't know why they're Southern. I don't know why I went for the Southern accent there, but and look, yes, there is such thing as the gender boy and the gender girl, but I do think us humans are a lot more complicated than just to put us in a two binary, like a binary
Yeah.
box like that,
Yeah.
People are on a spectrum,
Something that's really been not bothering me lately, but always
Grinding
bothers
your
me when I
gears?
hear it. And I hear it in one spot specifically all the time, but I've heard it all over the place, and you've heard it too. But this idea of someone being like, listen, I knew people talk about how there's the gender fluidity and that it's a spectrum. But I knew my son was a boy from a young age because they just gravitated straight to trucks and getting dirty and playing outside in the mud. And my daughter, she just went straight to dolls and pink and she loves
painting her nails.
She loves makeup and dress and
Right.
dress up. And it's like, first of all, I love how you're so removed. Like you can't even comprehend the fact that maybe you have some sort of influence on that. Like listen to you like, but then also just the idea that like. So you're saying that if your daughter had been the one that had been attracted to cars and going and trucks or whatever and construction or whatever they think little boys are into, she wouldn't really be a girl because she's in like it's like this sort of these binary ideas of what it means to be a boy or a girl, and it's like
Right.
it's like it's like just because they're. But then I've also seen situations like that, especially in the car community, where like the girl that's into cars, these freaking car nerds drool over themselves.
I'll bet
if
they
a girl
do.
is even like literally just slightly presentable to the world and has an interest in cars, like it's just like, oh my god,
Same in the guitar community, my dude.
bagels or whatever,
Right.
And
Right.
it's just like, which
It's
to me
sad,
then
dude. It's
contradicts
sad.
this idea of like, my son's the car guy. So, you could tell he immediately loved cars as soon as he could talk. So he was clearly a boy. Where it's like, yeah, but then once they get older, it's like when we see someone break that, but they're still conforming in other ways to what we consider like the gender. Like people are obsessed with
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And it's like, and these people especially music. I mean, that's even more ridiculous. Everyone like that's never like cars. I understand that the automotive world is generally like sort of a male dominated world, but like music, it's like, how is that? So like, it's like everyone does music. It's like,
Right.
But anyway, that's always bothered me when it comes to this idea of a spectrum too, where it's like, what are you talking about? It's
Right.
ridiculous. And then it's just the ignorance to not even realize that that you obviously have influence on your children. And it's like, how'd they get those toys? So you're telling me before, you without any sort of, they're like, hey, can I get some trucks? I need more trucks in here. It's like, no, you bought them, I would imagine. I don't know.
Right.
It's like there's some influence, obviously, nature and nurture.
Well, of course.
there's definitely,
Of course.
some nurture in there.
Well, it's that societal. I mean, that's why we have all these terms, though, Jared. Is
Right.
because society has certain quote unquote rules and regulations. Not all of them are always right. Not all of them are always good, and that's why we need to have these types of discussions and talk about some of these terms. And yeah, sometimes if you're not informed, it can be a little confusing and a little frustrating. And I think the reason why so many people a lot of times have pushback for a lot of like LGBTQ type of terms, and like you mentioned, like that comment where it's like, oh, now it's another we got to use that now, that type of attitude. It's like I feel like a lot of people just aren't willing to be challenged a little bit and have a little bit of self reflection or introspection, and like
Right.
if I have no problem if someone wants me to call them by whatever their pronouns are, I don't care if they're passing or non-passing. If you want me to call you, she or her or z or zer or whatever pronoun, I do not care. I will
Brave.
call you what your preference is. That is totally fine.
Yeah, I think also this untranslatable segment that we've been doing also shows that it's like it's not that hard to learn the stuff if you actually if someone actually cared. Like we're learning right now, and it's not that hard.
Right.
And so it's that that sort of term thing or like terms are constantly changing. Really, just highlights you have no interest in
Right.
learning this or trying to be more accepting of people that are
Right.
even slightly different than you. Like don't make it seem like they're making it too complicated because you haven't put in how about you put in some effort first,
little bit of effort,
and then
right.
maybe people can reconsider. But these are coming from people that it's like, have you Googled anything? Or are you
Right.
just saying it because
Right.
you said something or offensive? And now it's like, whoa, I'm just supposed to know.
Right. And yeah, But that's also, in some ways, Jared, also kind of a two-way street.
Yeah, that's fair. There are times where it's like, oh, that is true. I'll give you that. Stuff does change
Can I
quickly.
give an example?
Yes,
Can I
please.
tell a short little story?
Please.
So once again, a little college story here, Jared. I guess to show the liberal indoctrination that we both experienced. But there was a student at Albion who was non-binary, and they they went by they as their pronoun.
This
right?
is when we
And
were
so,
there?
when we were seniors, and I think this may have happened after we graduated. I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
But either way, they were a couple of years younger than us, and the thing is that somebody had asked them about, like, just asked them a couple questions about pronouns. Now, I don't know how long the conversation was. I don't know what the tone was like. There's a lot of things that I don't know, but they did write this long Facebook rant about, like, it's not my job to inform you about, and I'm like,
Yes.
okay, I get it that it's not your job. That's true. However, if someone is trying this out of trying to be respectful of you and your pronouns, maybe that isn't the right response.
Yeah. I'll say this, and we'll definitely talk about this during our ally episode, which we'll do either next or after. You guys will obviously figure it out. But that is something that's a common conversation in the black community. And I'll say it's a little different because terms do change and there are new terms. And so I can see both sort of, I hate to say that, like, I could sort of see both sides of that, but I can. But
Right.
I hear it a lot also, like, with the like discussions of race, where it's like a lot of conversation about, like, a white person or whatever will do or say something racist, and it's like, I'm trying to have conversations with black people. Please explain to me what I did wrong. I want to learn what I did was racist. I want to have conversations with people of color, and they can teach me. And there's a lot of talk about, like, it's not black people or people of color's job to explain to you why you were racist, and it's almost kind of offensive, But in that case, in I'd say the vast majority of cases, the literature is definitely out there. Like, not
for
hard
sure.
to find if you.
Sure.
And so, but it's certainly, I would say with terms, especially like involving gender and the proper way to address people, maybe you got to do a little bit more like internet searching. So maybe you do have to be a little more savvy. And so I could give a little more leeway, but when it's like, explain to me why I'm racist, it's for usually the you can find the literature that'll explain to you and eventually get you back to slavery at every racist thing you've done.
Right.
And so it's like, we can give you a 3-year course explaining why what you just did was racist. But that might be a little harder for
Just don't do it
terms.
the Coca-Cola message and say be less white. That's not going to help
First
you.
problem, you're white.
You're white. Be less white, please.
Stop that.
Okay, let me ask you this, Jared. What happens? So you tell them to be less white. Then you invite them to the cookout, and they
That's
come
not
in
happening.
blackface.
That person has a death wish.
But you guys told me to be less white.
Oh my gosh. And that is the exact sort of ignorance that these racist white people will claim when they do
That's
something
true.
racist. Be like, but I didn't know, where it's like, but I'm less white. What's the problem?
Right. I think the best tip I would give is, if you don't know if something's racist, go online and just search, is this offensive? Is this racist? And I'm pretty sure you can find out.
But we'll definitely talk about that during the ally episode. This is the Pride episode. I imagine you have a couple more terms.
Let me give you another related term for you, Jared. As much as I love these little transitions here. QPOC, QPOC.
Queer person of color.
Very, very good.
Yeah, there's been, you don't know anything about this, but there's been a lot of conversation in the communities of color. I don't even know what the proper term is.
Actually, Jared,
Oh, you do?
I hate to burst your bubble here a little bit, but I have a couple friends and a coworker who are gay and black, and we've had some conversations about how it's definitely different in the black community, being gay. I don't know if that's what you were going to say.
No, that's not what I was going to say. I meant
Okay.
we're talking about specifically untranslatable terms.
Okay, give me one.
And and so QPOC is queer person of color, and then there's also another one that is BIPOC. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah, is that
That is not related to. At least I don't believe it is. Yeah, excuse me, not related to pride or anything.
Well, it's not. I thought bi would be maybe bisexual people of color.
No, that's why.
It's not.
No.
Okay.
It's a full acronym. So it's Black, Indigenous, and People of Color.
Oh,
and
so that's right.
And so and so I actually, as I said, you probably haven't heard about this. I was like, well, you are sort of in the academic, not sort of. You
I
are
have
in
heard
the
BIPOC
academic
before.
community. So actually, it might not surprise me if you heard about this because it seems like something they might talk about in the academic world. But essentially, there's been just sort of debate in the black community about sort of lumping black people in like that and just making it a blanket term seems a little. Like I don't know, the unnecessary, unfair,
right?
And then there's other people that believe obviously it's a great way to group just people of color that are when because there's always this thing about like using people of color. Sometimes people have said like brown people,
right?
And so I think that's the term that they wanted to go with, but some people don't like it. Of course, social media. Some people don't like everything.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, it's crazy how much backlash sometimes there is to just a lot of these terms. Thankfully, I think I will say this, Jared. I think our generation and the younger generations, not to be ageist here, because that is a thing as well. But I do think that the younger people tend to be, not all, but a lot of them tend to be a little bit more. How would I say this? How would you say it, Jared? They're just more tolerant, more aware,
open-minded.
more conscious. Yeah, more open-minded. I hope. I think and I hope. I mean,
I think that's generally that's a fair thing to say, and I think that's generally proven to be how society works. The youngest among us tend to be the ones pushing change.
Right.
It's rarely, anything. You hear. Sometimes you hear about some of these. Just any sort of social figure, especially American ones that were like super popular for really changing the day. It's like MLK died when he was like 38 or whatever it is. I don't know how old he died, but at the latest he was like in his early 40s. Where it's like these people. What was he? I'm trying to see. 29 to 68. What's that? So 39.
I think so.
49. No, 39. He was 39.
Yeah, 39, right?
Died at 39.
That's pretty young. Yeah.
And so these most of the stuff that most of the progress we see is done by people that I think in hindsight we think these people are older than they are. I think because someone like MLK is as impactful as he is, and also because pictures are intentionally, by the way, just so you know, this is very intentionally civil rights era pictures
they do
are
them
in black and white to make
so
it look
seems
like it was older.
Happened. Yeah.
When really they had color pictures exist and were abundant, but they purposely put them in black and white. And so these people look a lot older than they are, but I think in general, change is done by the younger generations and younger people.
Yeah. Most definitely. And I do think it's really great that there are a lot of young people who are and just in general, I think that the LGBTQ community is becoming more accepted, at least I think in American culture and society. Of course, you have a lot of people who...
it's funny that you say that because I'm almost going to... I mean, I'll agree with you in the macro sense. If we're talking about if we go back to, I don't know, since 1700s, we've certainly seen an improvement. But just one administration ago, I should say, the Trump administration was putting forth like discrimination laws in favor of being able to discriminate against LGBT communities, just up to like a couple years ago. Like there was just one discrimination law that saying it was illegal to discriminate against LGBT people. Companies were allowed to, that Trump put into place during his presidency, that Biden just reversed, within the past couple weeks, I think. And so, sure, in the macro, progress has happened, but sometimes I get a little nervous when people say that, because it's like let's not get it twisted. Like there's still laws are
There's still work to be done.
Like we're not as liberal and progressive as you're making it seem like when you keep saying.
Right.
Sure, if you compare us to maybe China, we're a lot more open, or like I don't know, Saudi
The Middle
Arabia.
East,
Yeah,
yeah.
Our
Yeah.
views of the
Or Russia.
of the LGBT community certainly might be more open, but our government, and a large factor of our government is still on a regular basis. Even without Trump in office, there's still plenty of Republicans with power,
Especially down south.
that are actively fighting to put more limitations or on the the access that people in the LGBT community have to things like government incentives and stuff like that, or just health insurance and whatnot. So it's still a fight, like an active fight in the booths, on the street, on the streets. It's not just on one street. But sure, it's gotten better, of course, like anything. Progress naturally happens over time.
It is an interesting aspect, though, I think, Jared, of the progression of not only acceptance but just understanding of the LGBTQ community over time. Is some people, I think, have this weird notion that it's this new thing. Right? Like being trans is this new trend. It's not a trend.
Right.
Sexual orientation, by the way, I don't think is something you can decide on. I didn't wake up one day and decide, I think I'm going to be sexually attracted to women today. It's like, no, that's not how it works. You are who you
All
are.
right,
And
I'll identify as a man, I guess. Sure.
right. Yeah. At least for me, that's not how my life and my experience has been. But anyways, the reason why I bring this up is that it's not a new thing. And what's really fascinating is in Native American culture, they have this idea of they identify or call people two-spirit. So if you have a two-spirit identity, it means that one person contains male and female spirits within them. So I think that's really cool. So I think this idea that, people... I don't know. I've just heard some crazy talking heads out there say ridiculous things about... there are more trans people now because more people are mentally ill. And I'm not saying that this is my belief. This is like random crap I've read on the internet.
Liberal colleges like Albion College are making it seem like that's okay,
Right.
And that's not what I believe. That's another conservative talking point. But I think quite the contraire. I think this, that's the whole point of pride and awareness, is so that people feel more comfortable. It's so the numbers of people throughout time that might identify as something different than what we consider just a standard, straight cis person. The people are that rate of people that identify something other than that probably hasn't really changed that much, but the ability for people to express it publicly has obviously improved to a certain extent over the years, and there's still room to go, because it's still nerve-wracking and potentially physically, socially, emotionally dangerous for a lot of people professionally.
Right. Oh yeah, well that's a whole nother can of worms. Is being out in the workplace and how as an ally, how you should support and interact with your colleagues because some colleagues, you may, if you become friends with a colleague, some colleagues maybe also might come to you in confidence but they might not want to be outed, which would mean, that you tell others without their consent of their sexual orientation. Or I think to be outed, I think that would include, Jared, not only sexual orientation, but also maybe gender identity as well.
Sure. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah, let me just like, maybe I'll be out in my social life, but when I turn the camera on for these Teams meetings and Zoom meetings for work, let me just put on a tie and a blazer like a traditional businessman or whatever,
Right.
just so I don't have to deal with it, which I could definitely see that happening.
Oh, without a doubt, for sure.
Any more terms you'd like to share with us, Chad?
Jared, I mean, there are more on this list, but I think we've covered a lot of the key
so.
terms. I guess the last one I'll leave us with today, Jared, and I would love to hear your thoughts on what this term is. How would you define the term ally, Jared?
An ally, which obviously we'll get into more in a future episode, but it is a very important term for Pride Month as well. Ally is someone that does not directly identify with. All right, if we're talking, let's put it specifically into terms of pride, or someone that does not directly identify as any of the LGBTQ monikers. A straight cis person that
Right.
Is actively I guess no, I'm not. That's not the term I'm suffering. I'm struggling with. It's someone that actively supports the community. I wonder, to be an ally, and once again, this is going to get into our topic. Do you have to actively support? I think so. I think you do actually. But I think when some people say ally, it just means like I'm not getting in the way,
Look, I think.
Like,
well, no, okay.
Like
So
I'm an ally because like I'm not trying to stop you, and that's sort of the limit of it,
Right. Let me give you my 2 cents here on what an ally is as a teaser for a future, probably our next episode. At this point, it makes a lot of sense to do it as our next one.
I like
but
the other
anyway,
topic,
so yeah, it's a that's true. The other one's a good one too. We'll have to see. We'll have to meet in our boardroom.
You know how much I love
put
that
on
next
our
topic,
suits.
bro. Don't take that away from me.
Right, that's true. For a future episode, anyways, a little teaser. My 2 cents, though, Jared, on an ally would be yes, someone who has to actively support. If you just don't get in their way, in my opinion, to my ear, that sounds like you're just not doing anything.
Right.
And I would say doing nothing, then you're siding more with the villains, with the bad guys. If you do nothing,
Well, that's
right?
what they say. Silence is violence.
Yep.
Yeah, it's more. Here's the difference. You could either be an ally and actively sort of take steps to try to progress the movement, or you could be actively against it. Sure, that's another option too.
Right.
Or you're just indifferent.
Right.
It's like that's sort of like the people that say like I don't see color, or like that's not doing anything. It's
Right.
like it's kind of like either you're like you have to have some sort of awareness of what's happening here, and not just sort of be indifferent to the whole thing. Where it's like it's not my problem, man. I'm not racist. Is kind of the same thing. It's like it's not my problem. I know gay people, and they can do whatever they want. Doesn't bother me. I'm not stopping them. Or it's saying, all right, that's just indifference. Like
Right.
that's not really being an ally
I would
or
say,
helping
though,
anything.
Jared, a
it's
way
not hurting, I
to-
guess, per se.
Right. Well, I would say a way to make indifference into more of having an actual active role, more so as an ally, without having to buy 20 books or even buy 3 or 4 books, would be to, if you do have a friend or a family member, is just reach out to them, and if there's any way that you can support them or listen to them or help them in any way, I think that would be maybe one way. I think a lot of people, when you hear the term ally, some people assume that you have to do a ton of things. You have to go to a bunch of pride marches. I don't think it's necessarily, you can certainly do all those things, and that's great if you want to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think a big aspect of being a good ally is really helping, listening into supporting those people that or maybe you need to go out and get to know some of these people and hear some of their stories as well.
Yeah. I would certainly not say I agree with you for 100%. That is kind of tough to do, though, I will admit, to sort of like
Sure.
ask someone and be like, hey, how, but I don't claim that this makes me an ally, but what I personally enjoy doing is on social media following people that are in these communities. I'm certainly not part of gay Twitter by any means, but I do have a toe dipped into it with some of the people that I follow, and it does seem like a fun space. You know, I'm not in it like I am Black Twitter. Or Formula One, or car Twitter, I should say, not Formula One Twitter, but car Twitter, I'm super into, and Black Twitter, I'm super into. And then because of, Black Twitter and gay Twitter obviously have some overlaps and stuff, and so does car Twitter, actually. So I do see some bits. One of my favorite things that I see, this is actually maybe kind of an untranslatable for us. It's not really an untranslatable, this is just a term, but one of my favorite terms that they used, when they're talking about straight people, is like, what are the straights up to? Or like, are the straights funny. Okay? Like you'll see usually you'll see it like if like say it's like a video from a frat house and some dudes are doing something that's like that they consider to be like hyper masculine, but really is just like super gay or whatever, right?
Like wrestling, oiling each other up,
like
and
drunkenly wrestling
together.
Or something,
right?
And people will be like, "Are the straights okay?" or whatever. It's just so funny. So I do. But I have learned a lot, even just by being a fly on the wall and that's how I learn the terms. If I do learn the terms, I don't always learn all the terms, but if I do learn the terms in a timely manner, I do it just because I'm listening to some of what they're talking about in that community. So that's how I sort of, and once again, I don't claim that to make me an ally, but I do think it contributes to the learning process.
Right. Which is one step, I think, towards definitely being an ally.
Sure, sure. I just don't want
Without
to call
a
it an ally because it's the lowest step.
Right, right.
I follow someone on Twitter. They're funny. They're gay.
Right. Well, once again, I think a really important aspect would be the people-to-people aspect in a lot of ways. I mean, that's, the other thing, too, you can always donate to the cause, if you want to. To be honest, though, Jared, I'm not really sure. I did actually donate to, I forget the name of the fund, but I donated to a charity actually at work. It was, I think, a $20 donation, if I remember correctly. But the point is, you could also, that's another way you could be active as an ally. I think another way, though, too, Jared, to be active as an ally would be to support any folks who are running any businesses, producing any content in the LGBTQ community. I mean, there's a bunch of great books out there.
Pride parades and not complaining about what people are wearing is a great way to be an ally.
Yeah, sure.
I think.
Don't kink shame me, Jared.
I do think. I think going to stuff like pride parades might seem like a low level sort of allyship as well, but I do think is important for the presence. Like, the more people that are at these sort of things showing support just in your presence, and it's like there are a lot of people there, meaning that for those of you that don't support it, maybe you should really look at yourself in the mirror, because look how many people think that this is something important and that should be supported, while you're angry, alone.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. Well, Jared, this has been a fun episode. I'm surprised we were able to extend our untranslatable so far today, but this was a fun one.
I enjoy the switcheroo.
I think a great way, and a great way to kick off Pride Month. So
timely,
definitely
fitting. So
exactly. So let us know though if there's any terms we didn't clarify correctly, or we needed to mention and we should have. Let us know at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. You can slide into those DMs on Twitter, untranslatable1, the number one. Check us out on YouTube and Instagram as well, Untranslatable Podcast. And please, 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. Let us know how we can make this podcast better for you. So as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, dziękujemy, muchas gracias, shishi, and do svidania.
You notice, Chad, the drops on drops are back?
I did. I did. I'm excited.
Flipping on Gator Pit.
So, dude, I got some exciting news. Some very exciting news.
What's that?
the rest of the month, every weekend, I'll be going camping.
Nice. You already have places booked?
Yep, you have
Okay.
to because they're booking up quick.
Yeah, for
Jay.
sure. I can imagine that.
So,
Just
so you're
various
gonna have
places
to
around
come join
Michigan.
us. Yep,
Who's
you're gonna have to me and my imaginary friends, I guess. But yeah, you're gonna have to come join me at some of these campsites to record an episode or two, maybe.
Okay, I'm
If you
down.
want to,
Sure.
we can make a day out of it. Go do something as well. You know, do a little swimming or
Yeah, get a
check
hike
out
in
the
somewhere.
trails or
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm down.